In today's video, we're going to talk about the notorious leader of the Islamic State, Abu Ibrahim Hashimi al-Qurayshi, and his assassination in northern Syria. Who was Abu Ibrahim Hashimi al-Qurayshi? Amir Muhammad Abdul Rahman al-Mawli al-Salbi, known as Abu Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Qurayshi, served as the second caliph of the Islamic State until his passing on February 3, 2022. His appointment followed the passing of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, announced by the Islamic State media on October 31, 2019. Notably, al-Qurayshi's leadership witnessed the Islamic State primarily engaging in insurgent activities in the Middle East, while concurrently making significant strides in Africa, expanding its territories and influence. Born in October 1976 in Muhalabiyah near Mosul, Iraq, al-Qurayshi's birthplace remains a subject of debate, with Tal Afar also suggested. Raised in a family with diverse roots, he claimed Arab ethnicity, although certain sources suggested Turkmen origins. His family affiliated with the Quraysh tribe but described as a Turkified branch, followed a Sufist form of Islam. Al-Qurayshi himself initially identified as a Sufi. Educated in Sharia law at the University of Mosul, al-Qurayshi excelled in Quranic studies and Islamic education, graduating with honors in 2000. Following conscription, he served in the Iraqi army, making connections with jihadist groups during his military tenure. It was during this time that he purportedly repented his state service after encountering Abu Ali al-Anbari, whom he considered a mentor and studied under him. Al-Qurayshi's leadership period saw the U.S. Rewards for Justice program offering a substantial reward for information leading to his capture. Rise to power. As IS faced territorial losses in 2016, al-Baghdadi directed the shift towards insurgency, with al-Qurayshi entrusted to safeguard the group's finances and ideology amid ongoing defeats. Initially stationed in Al-Qaim, he later moved to Syria after Iraqi forces attacked the town in October 2017. Despite claims that al-Qurayshi participated in the Battle of Mosul in 2016 and 17, he faced internal challenges within IS from 2017 to 18 due to repeated defeats, resulting in ideological disputes known as fitna and the rise of Jahmism and Irja. Al-Qurayshi played a crucial role in quashing internal dissent, reportedly eliminating IS members critical of al-Baghdadi's leadership. He also worked on restructuring IS, focusing on military activities and removing unnecessary officials. After the Battle of Baghouz Forqani, al-Baghdadi appointed al-Qurayshi as his successor, pointing out his experience in fighting Western nations and religious education. In October 2019, less than a week after al-Baghdadi's passing, al-Qurayshi became the new caliph, elected by a Shura council following Baghdadi's advice. Despite losing all territorial control, IS maintained its self-declared caliphate. Expectations suggested al-Qurayshi would lead a fragmented organization reduced to sleeper cells, governing what some called a caliphate of ashes. Analysts debated the impact of Baghdadi's passing, with some predicting IS fragmentation, while others believed operational capacity might not decline significantly. Journalist Faraz Kilani noted that, by al-Qurayshi's rise, IS still commanded at least 10,000 militants, questioning the famous saying of a defeated caliph without a caliphate. How did al-Qurayshi lose his life? Abu Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Qurayshi, the leader of the Islamic State, IS, fell victim to a U.S. raid in northern Syria, according to U.S. officials. The operation, conducted overnight, resulted in a fatal blast initiated by Qurayshi himself, taking the lives of both him and his family amid a confrontation with special forces. U.S. President Joe Biden disclosed the intricacies of a carefully planned raid, underscoring that Qurayshi's death signifies the eradication of a significant terrorist threat on a global scale. Although the identity of the IS deputy assassinated alongside Qurayshi was not divulged by U.S. officials, the operation's dramatic unfolding pointed out the intensity of the encounter that had been in the works for months. Despite silence from IS on the matter, various US experts thought that Qurayshi's passing would indeed deliver a setback to the organization. However, they also acknowledged the probability of the group regrouping in the aftermath. Gathering intel before the raid. The operation focused on a 3-story residence on the outskirts of Atmir, a town held by the opposition in northern Idlib province near the Turkish border. This area is a stronghold for jihadist groups in intense rivalry with the Islamic State IS, along with Turkish-backed rebel factions in conflict with the Syrian government. According to intelligence reports, Abu Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Qurayshi lived with his family on the second floor of the Atmir building, where he managed IS operations. Using couriers to send orders within Syria and beyond, Qurayshi strategically directed the extremist group, known as the Destroyer, and using aliases like Haji Abdullah, Amir Muhammad Sayyid Abdul Rahman al-Mawla, and Abdullah Kardash, Qurayshi took charge of IS in 2019, after the death of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Despite the official announcement of his leadership 4 days after Baghdadi's demise in October, Qurayshi had reportedly been groomed for the role over an extended period, deliberately kept away from the battlefield in anticipation of assuming command. The United States had offered a $10 million reward for information leading to the capture of this jihadist. During his stay in Atmir, al-Qurayshi rarely left his place, mostly staying on the rooftop for baths. However, launching an airstrike was risky due to the chance of civilian casualties, as another family on the ground floor was not connected to IS and was unaware of Qurayshi's presence. A possible ground raid was carefully thought out, with numerous scenarios practiced and risk assessed on the ground. Engineers even considered the consequence of a possible building collapse in a blast. What was the approach to executing the raid? In December 2021, President Biden was briefed on the potential operation and eventually gave the green light for the Special Forces raid. He closely followed events from the White House Situation Room as helicopters descended on Atmir around midnight on a Thursday. Local sources reported that U.S. Special Forces faced strong resistance and were fired upon from vehicles with anti-aircraft guns. Gunfire and shelling went on for 2 hours before the helicopters left. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby mentioned that U.S. forces successfully evacuated 10 people from the house, including 8 children. Those assassinated in the raid included one of Qurayshi's deputies and his wife, both of whom engaged U.S. forces. Additionally, U.S. forces confronted a group approaching the area during the mission, considering them hostile and resulting in the deaths of 2 individuals. It seems a child nearby also lost its life, but Kirby acknowledged the challenges of having perfect knowledge of everyone affected. During the raid, Qurayshi used a tactic previously employed by Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi in 2019. He detonated an explosive device on the 3rd floor, resulting in the deaths of himself, his wife, and 2 children. President Biden described this act as a final act of cowardice. Qurayshi's identity was later confirmed through fingerprints and DNA analysis, according to Mr. Kirby. Fortunately, there were no U.S. casualties, although one American helicopter malfunctioned during the operation and had to be destroyed. Additionally, it's worth noting that al-Baghdadi had also used a similar tactic in 2019, detonating an explosive vest during a U.S. Special Forces raid, resulting in his death and that of 3 children, merely 10 miles away from Atmir. The Syrian Civil Defense, also known as the White Helmets Rescue Service, reported discovering the bodies of 6 children and 4 women at the targeted house. All Americans involved in this operation returned safely, as confirmed by President Biden. What came after the raid and the detonation? IS doesn't control as much land in Iraq and Syria as it used to, and it's not as attractive to jihadists as before when it used social media for recruitment. It also hasn't carried out major attacks in Europe as in 2015. Last year, ISK in Afghanistan received more attention, especially with the attack in Kabul during the US and Allies' exit. Recently, some people have worried that IS is trying to regroup in Iraq and Syria, as seen in ambushes, attacks, and renewed propaganda. The US hopes that getting rid of Qurayshi will stop any comeback. although there have been worrying recent incidents like a big prison break attempt in northeast Syria and more propaganda. President Biden stresses the importance of taking out the IS chief, calling him Haji Abdullah and linking him to overseeing IS-affiliated groups globally, including the 2014 Yazidi genocide. He praises U.S. troops for dealing with this horrible terrorist leader. U.S. foreign policy experts believe Qurayshi's passing will hurt IS, making the group more paranoid and causing internal issues. While removing the head of IS is seen as positive, they caution it might not be the end of the group's activities. But that's yet to be seen. And that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and comment on this video. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you like what we're doing and want us to continue with more cool content. Until the next time.